Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining me here at the Energy Healing Network. Glad you guys could join me again. I have the privilege here to have Nicole Starbuck, founder of Oracle Academy, here joining me this evening. How are you doing today, Nicole?
Oh, doing well. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it is a privilege to have you here. Kind of give people an idea kind of what you do. You're a psychic empath, a quantum energy healer, spiritual mentor, and life coach. So you're bringing a lot to the world.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. But tell us where you join us from today.
I'm based in Houston, Texas.
The Lone Star State. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Yes, glad you could join us. What kind of let our audience know, some things about you. What led you on the path of healing? Because most of the time when we get on these paths, it's usually about us healing ourselves, and it usually kind of leads there. So
Yeah.
let them know how you do things.
Yeah, well, you said it. It started with myself first. So I first discovered my spiritual gift and ability, psychic intuition, when I was 9 years old. I was coming out of school to get picked up, and out of nowhere, I just had this random thought: a bird's gonna poop on me right now. And I kid you not, it did right then and there. 2 seconds later, it landed right here on my arm. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is so gross. And also, I can't believe I just predicted this. And so
Yeah.
that was my first real taste of seeing what that was like. And ever since then, I would just start getting these predictive dreams and premonitions. I would have visions and then they would come true. So I started to get pretty overwhelmed. And I grew up in an environment where these kinds of things weren't really talked about. And when they were, it was under this lens of, oh, that's wrong, that's evil, you shouldn't do that. And so I hid my gifts for many years. And I just ended up having a lot of anxiety because I felt like I couldn't control what was happening to me or the outcomes that I was seeing. This led to depression because I wasn't living in alignment with my authentic truth. Anxiety and depression is the recipe for chronic illness. So I ended up with multiple chronic illnesses. And I really thought I was doing everything right. I was doing what I was supposed to do, following the American dream: go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and everything will be fine, right? That's what they tell you. But it was not fine. I, out of college, got what was called a good job with good benefits, and I actually ended up in the ER with a massive panic attack. So that was my first wake up call that something needed to shift. So I went on a personal growth journey, doing a lot of affirmations and mindset work. I got some coaches and mentors, and this all helped quite a bit. But as I got to be in my later 20s, so 20 years after I first discovered my psychic skills and abilities, I realized that I was still missing something. I was missing the soul. I was missing the spirit. So I was really drawn to anything with the word soul. I joined a Facebook group called Visionary Soul that led to a retreat called Soul on Fire. And I go to this retreat, and one of the facilitators says to me, oh, you're psychic. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how did you know? Nobody's supposed to know that. That's my deep, dark secret. And she helped me through light language and some other modalities release the resistance I had had towards these abilities for so long. And then I just went all in on that development journey. I started offering, first of all, I read some books. So I did get some training. I got trained by her, I got certified by her, and then started offering professional psychic readings and healing sessions online. I actually started my own shop on Etsy. And as I was doing these healing sessions for other people, I realized that so many of the people that were coming to me were also highly sensitive, highly empathic. They just didn't realize they were psychic. So they were exactly where I was before I started that practice. And I thought there really needs to be a way to address the root cause, not just do this band aid fix of here's a psychic reading, but actually help them to develop their spiritual gifts and abilities in the way that I didn't have growing up. So that was the inspiration and motivation for what I do now, which is founding the Oracle Academy, which houses the psychic school to help emerging empaths develop their spiritual gifts and abilities, specifically psychic intuition.
Mhm. Well, the thing about that, the beautiful thing about that is you giving, people, who have your gift to a place to feel okay about it.
Yeah.
Because, you speak on American culture, and American culture is based in a lot of it's religion. It's basically it's Christianity and things of that nature, and a lot of that shuns, people's gifts. As you said, it's evil. It's basically not necessarily living what your sole purpose is. So did the kids kind of, have a better grasp of understanding these things, because of the school?
I actually think that school is designed to take these spiritual gifts away, to make us
Mm,
feel that we don't have the answers, that the
yeah,
teacher
right.
is going to give us the answers, some force
Yeah,
outside of us is going to give us the answers.
yeah.
And that if we question,
Mhm,
oh, well, then there's something wrong with you, you're
mhm,
not falling in line, you're difficult, you're a trouble
yeah,
child. And so we're
yeah.
meant to feel that we're powerless and that we can't trust ourselves. So kids are very intuitive. I have two small kids myself, but the school system's designed to take that power away from us.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Kind of not just the school, but American society in general. It
Yes.
it it kind of because I mean we can kind of look at the schools, but I look at the commonality that most of the school people are religious, and it kind of falls back into that again because the evil part of it all is most time they're looking at their religious background to kind of make these judgments to tell someone to go along with the actual structure of American society anyway, the way I see it, because a lot of times they're giving you things that you need other people, and you're never actually finding what's within yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people fear what they don't understand.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
unless there's an interest in actually exploring both sides or all sides, then we're approaching that with a sense of blind ignorance that we're just saying, oh, that's evil, that's wrong, without actually examining it. Because if you take the time to explore, say, both religion and what would be considered more esoteric practices,
That's right.
and then you say, okay, that's not for me. So I am going to stay grounded and rooted in my truth over here in
Hmm.
organized religion. That's fine. But so
Hmm.
many people blindly believe what other people tell them
Yeah.
without actually examining why they believe it.
That is the thing right there, doing your own research and finding out why you believe it instead of just taking other people tell you as blind faith.
Yeah. But, I mean, think about the school system in general, how we're told to sit down, be quiet, don't ask questions, don't
Yeah,
cause a scene.
yeah,
And then what do we, that prepares us for the workplace,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Where we're told to sit down, be quiet, follow the rules, don't cause a scene, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
the same
yeah.
thing.
It is to conform, to pretty much conform.
Exactly. I know. I call it sheeple, being one of the sheeple.
Exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. A great terminology for it, though. Sheeple, people that live like sheep. Yeah,
Like sheep.
I'm gonna take that word. I'm
Please do. Please do.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Well, so basically, how long have you had the school going?
So the school was actually given to me as an idea back in 2020, and the spirit said it wasn't the right time. So I've been sitting with it for 3 years. Then at the
Mhm.
beginning of this year, I had just come back from maternity leave after having my second child. And spirit said it's go time. So it was time to get it started. So it's just since the beginning of this year, but it's been incubating for several years.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, basically, you're being led by the spirit, so you cannot be led wrong.
That's right. It doesn't have to make logical sense to be true, because if you're
Mm-mm.
following spirit, how can you be wrong?
Exactly, and that's the thing people need to understand. Once you're following that, you have no more worries. Is you're being guided, and that's the thing that people are disconnected from. But that's what we're here for, to try to get them to try to start trusting and start looking at some of these things, to start trying to find themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, tell us how you kind of blend a lot of your modalities, because I know you kind of I know you got some Reiki going on. You got some, you got various modalities that you blend. I know, like myself, I'm a Reiki master, and I deal with sounds and things of that nature. So how are you actually putting your programs together to kind of bring healing to your clients?
Oh, I love that question. So I started on my journey with psychic readings, got into divination, pendulum, tarot. That led to Reiki and light language. For anyone that's not familiar with Reiki or light language, Reiki is the ancient Japanese practice where specific symbols mean and do specific things within someone's energy field. Light language, I feel, is a little more fluid. It's considered to be the language of the angels. It can be sung, it can be spoken, it can be signed, it can be drawn. You notice I talk a lot with my hands, so there's a lot of light language coming through. So I'm partial to light language over Reiki, but I do incorporate both in my practice. I do a lot of guided meditation. I also didn't realize at the time that later when I got trained and certified in hypnosis, a lot of my guided meditation gets into the hypnotherapy side of things. There's a lot of crossover there.
Yeah, I am as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's really, for me, it's not so much about sticking to a particular modality, but over time, not that we have to learn everything at once, but over time, we accumulate tools for our spiritual toolbox, and we can pick and choose what resonates and what serves in that particular moment. Exactly. So in any particular journey, whether it's one-on-one or a group container, we really look at where are you now? Where would you like to be? Where are you being called to go? And then what's the slow moving energy or resistance as to why that's not already your reality? And then let's trace that back and identify the root cause or causes. And then we'll use whatever modalities are necessary in order to shift and clear that energy so that you can move forward with greater clarity and confidence.
Exactly. And that's the thing we want to try to educate people on. I try to get a little bit more in detail because, like with Reiki, like I have to explain, it's an ancient art, and and it's using life force energy and things of this nature, and and with frequencies, the same thing. This is ancient. It's been used. Solfeggio frequencies. I'm really big on those. Different things of that nature. And they're addressed because we are energy beings, and trying to educate people at first of how we actually made up of, but if you understand how you're made up, then you understand a little bit better how to deal with yourself and understand what we're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too of the scientific terms about atoms, it's mostly space. It's energy and space. So we are made up of energy and space. And I've had several sessions today with some clients, and I was talking about the importance of rest after a session and of drinking water after a session and nourishing the mind and the body and the soul and being very gentle with ourselves, because everyone responds to energy healing differently. And I explained how so often we think we're just going to jump out of a session and just go about our normal lives. Well, you're changed. You're a different person now coming out of that session. So if you try and go back to the old ways, you're actually going to make yourself sick. So you're going to have dizziness, headache, nausea, fatigue. Why? Because the cells are made up of water. Water holds memory. So you're holding on to that old self, and you want to drink that water to flush out your system so that you can be clear moving forward.
Yes. And that's great that you pointed out, because people don't understand that we're clearing out traumas and blockages that have impacted you. What people don't understand, like on the epigenetic level, things that preceded you in life, that have changed you as a person as we're doing these techniques. So, basically I remember, when I first got attuned and everything, and we were really, big on trying to make sure that you drink water and schooling people on spiritual detox, because you're literally spiritually detoxing your body of what it was holding on to. And I've seen people literally, they really gotten pretty sick on the stomach because their body was literally releasing these energies, and so it does have a physical effect on you.
Yeah. And I think it has an environmental effect as well. I'm thinking of right now, I feel pretty deeply. I'm in the middle of a third awakening. I think sometimes people have this idea, I awoke, I'm done. It's like, no, there's evolutions and layers and permutations. I'm in the middle of my third one, a third of many, I'm sure. And I took some time away from my house because I was like, I literally need to get out of this space. And I came back, and my attachment to anything and everything in my home was gone. And I was like, I just need to release and let go of all this stuff, because I don't need it. And I started selling all my stuff, and my husband's like, well, aren't you going to want your plants back? And aren't you going to want these other tools back? And he's like, no, actually,
Yeah.
I don't need it anymore. So I've
Right.
actually been doing a purge and selling a
Mhm.
lot of my personal stuff, because I just, as you continue on this journey, you realize what's actually important to you,
Mhm.
and you release the attachments, and
Right.
even objects, inanimate objects, hold energy.
They do. They do.
And so when you're shedding old layers of self, those objects that you resonated with before may not anymore. And having them around you is just a physical reminder of the past. And so it's time to let go.
And that's the beautiful thing that you bring up, because people need to understand that they're, holding on to things that no longer serve you.
Yeah.
Understanding that, as you evolve, that's part of what we need to be doing, is continue to evolve. We have to continue to let go, of things that don't serve us anymore. And a lot of times, that's when you talk about the personality change, when you're actually able to start healing these deals, it basically, you're gonna have a personality change, because you're gonna let go of things that no longer serve you. Like your husband's, like that was something that you really cared about. Now all of a sudden you don't want it anymore, like, because it no longer serves you. And that's the thing, is I think people are afraid of change a lot of times.
Yeah.
And they don't understand this is what we're here to do. And it's okay.
Yeah. And I mean, you're starting to touch on it. So just to bring it out a little more, the letting go and releasing can also apply to relationships, right? So you
Yeah.
talk about the personality change. I know initially in my spiritual journey, I held myself back because I thought, oh, if I go down this path, I'm going to outgrow the people that are close to me. Specifically, I'm in a married partnership, so I'm going to outgrow my husband. So for years, I actually didn't accelerate the way that I probably could have, because I didn't want to leave him behind. And I thought, you know what? Why would I be afraid of losing that? Because if they're not going to come with me, then is that person really for me? So I went all in. He started noticing the changes. For a while there, it was actually creating some really intense energy and tension, friction. We call it contrast in our relationship, to where we had a sort of come to Jesus moment, not to bring religion back into it, but a sort of awakening actually 2 weeks ago, very recently, where it was very clear that the way that we were communicating, the way that we were connecting, was not going to be able to continue in that fashion. So that was also a reason why I stepped away from the space, because I needed to get clarity for myself of who am I? What is the path that I'm on? Is this current relationship as it is, assuming he never changes,
Right.
is this
Right.
still in alignment? And I was like, you
Right.
know what? It's not. And I was completely ready to release and let go. And he's like,
Wow.
oh shit, I better get my act
Right.
together and get back with the program, because he realized that I was
Yeah.
going to move on. And so
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
actually taking very active, big steps towards his personal growth and development. And I'm glad, because there were many years where, at first I was stunting my own growth to try and stay with him. And then I'm trying to be on my own path, but then push him on my path, which is creating
Yeah.
resentment there too.
Right. Right.
So
Yes.
once
Yes.
I released that attachment of, you know what, I just got to be me and do me,
Mhm.
then he's like, oh yeah, actually, I
Yeah.
want that too. So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
got to make that informed decision for
That's right.
himself.
That's right. That's right. Well, yeah, I didn't mean to sweep around it that much, but that's definitely, it's something that people need to talk about. And
Yeah.
I've been through that personally. I was married, and as I didn't know I was on a spiritual journey. I started changing. I started looking for more of my purpose, because I've been a personal trainer for 20 years. So it started on the physical level, but I was always in the mind of how we need to continue to change and evolve. That's how it kind of led me more from the physical to the spiritual. And while I was making this awakening, I've been depressed for 20 years and had kids and all. But when I started growing more, if she didn't grow along with me, and we grew apart. And I knew, during those years, I knew that during that times I couldn't get with anyone that wasn't evolving as I was evolving. So I kind of stayed single for 15 years until, about 4 years ago, when a beautiful soul came into my life that was looking to continue to grow herself. And we've both been able to grow together, because if one person is not on this journey, you're gonna get left behind, because it's just kind of where one person is standing still and the other person is changing daily. But when you're able to both grow together, trust me, it makes a very big difference. And with her, within the last years, she looks back on herself and says, I don't, I know who I was back then. I don't know who I was back then. And so, and it's a beautiful thing. And so I'm glad you guys were able to kind of sit down and, because it can inspire someone also too, to kind of say, look, I need to get my stuff together. And so that's inspiring that he has you to be able to do that, because someone who is a little bit less, there's a lot of people stay stagnant in life and they're wondering, well, one person is not making them happy. Well, happiness starts within yourself.
Exactly.
Then you come together and you go on this journey, beautiful journey together, and make it, of happiness together. And people are looking for it the other way.
Because they're looking for something outside of themselves, just like we did in school, just like we did at work, just like we do in politics and government, is we're not trusting within.
Exactly. And that's where it comes from. Everything comes from inside out, and so that's, it's something that needs to be talked about, because if, I know a lot of people who are in search of things and they don't know why they can't find happiness. Well, you got to start looking within yourself, and then you can, you literally resonate a frequency of, can actually attract what actually maybe align with your life.
Yeah, and I want to acknowledge too that everyone's journey looks different. So maybe there is a partner who is accelerating really quickly, or quantum leaping, I call it jumping timelines. So all of a sudden it seems like they went from point A to point Z. Meanwhile, your partner over here is like not even in the same book, let alone the same page, right? So so like maybe you jumped really quickly and then you're over here all of a sudden, and maybe they'll get there, right? Maybe it'll take them months or years, but they have to be wanting to move forward. So even if it's slower and it looks different, and maybe they're not using the same tools and modalities as you, that doesn't mean they're not doing it right, because there's no right or wrong. There's only what's true for them, but they have to be they have to want to be in pursuit of their truth for that to be worthwhile.
They do. And then they have to be aware and and not be pressing themselves to, that they should be on the other person's journey. That their journey does look different than the other person's. So, don't beat yourself up because your journey doesn't look like the other person's. Don't stand in judgment of yourself, is what I kind of like to call it. It's like, it's your journey, and enjoy the journey. And so, and because you say the key is people trying, but that's the thing, is people have to want to try. They want to do these things, and that's kind of, and these relate to intergenerational relations too, because I know within the solar plex, just kind of have a lot of things to do with drive and initiative and things of that nature. So a lot of times I have to educate people too. They're like, okay, you don't have the drive, and that's not necessarily all your fault either, because these are things within your energy centers that can play a role in how you feel about actually continue to, to have self-esteem and believe in yourself to actually make these things happen. So, again, something that people need to kind of be educated about and not beat themselves up about it,
I feel too, as we're talking about this and we're talking about everyone's journey being different, we had also touched on this idea of religion and whether or not religion and spirituality were compatible or mutually exclusive. I feel called to bring this into the space as well, because that's also one of, not points of contention, but one of the areas of contrast within my own life. Is my husband's journey is much more on the religious side of things, as I think of it as the spectrum, not like polar opposites, but we can fall somewhere on this spectrum. So for him, he's finding solace and finding growth and compassion within church, of going to service and reading the Bible and praying and going to Bible study and getting counseling at church. So that's really resonating with him. Doesn't resonate with me so much. There's certain aspects of church that I really love and enjoy. I'm drawn to the ritual aspect of things in the community and the gathering. But as far as sitting down reading the Bible, not so much, right? So, and so for me, I always thought, oh, well, they're two different things, right? But as life goes on, and I'm seeing actually they're not mutually exclusive, that it's possible to hold space within organized religion, as long as, like I said, we're examining all aspects of self and identifying our own truth. And then for me, I'm much more on the woo-woo side of things of, we just had a full moon on Monday, so I did my full moon ritual, I do my daily rituals, I'd meditate and I do these things. And so it's finding that balance within self, what's true for us as an individual. And then if you do have a partner that has completely different spiritual beliefs than you do, it doesn't mean that you're not compatible or you can't be together. It's learning to appreciate both sides of things, all sides of things, even if you don't agree, because you can hold space for both. I actually believe that, say, Christ consciousness and the cosmic cauldron are not mutually exclusive, but actually they can inform and enhance each other to create a full spectrum experience for the individual.
Yeah. You know, I kind of weighed that a little bit too, and you know, I don't know. It's kind of, I guess I've looked at the kind of the religion thing, especially Christianity, and I understand that, you know, they have different people kind of, I guess you say, praise differently as far as, you know, Christianity is concerned. But where I come from, it's really kind of hard for me to see that they're the same, because one is separating you from what's within, the other one is bringing you closer to it. And I have people that are within the community that are relying way too much about things outside of themselves, to the point that they have things outside that don't necessarily exist. And I watch people die. I watch people literally, you know, believe in things that you know, it does not happen, and they're not believing in what's within themselves, and not doing anything about anything, and to the point where it's turning to mental illness, because you have people passing this thing on from generation to generation, and people look like me. I mean, I can't speak for anything else, but they received this religion in slavery, where they weren't literate to begin with. And now you're passing on the words to be literate people as words of wisdom, that people, I mean, they literally say we don't want to rewrite the Bible, because because when you bring facts about what's actually within the Bible, they don't believe it. I mean, literally, not to the words that it actually says in the Bible. The you know, temples built by men, you know, the Lord does not exist. So church should not even be existing within that text of the Bible. And so when I look at the words within it, I see so much confusion, that I see, and then people living in fear because they're thinking about their soul going to places that they're not going. And it's a contrast to the emotional energy that I know that Yeshua, which is actually, you know, people call him Jesus, but people are saying that he died for sins that people, it's not true. He was telling people that they had God within themselves. They call them blasphemous. And now people say they serve words that they don't necessarily serve. So it's just so much contradiction between it, that it's hard for me to get to a point that a person ever finds within themselves through all that confusion, at least where I come from. Now, I know I've seen where some other, churches and things like that. I mean, I don't know if, Episcopalians and, things of that nature, where they're a little more higher income. And they kind of praise, they have what we call an open-minded thought process. But these are also the people who are physicists. They're also the people who know the science of this deal. They know what we know. But then they tell you that they're Christians, but they're living close to spiritual, because they're using quantum physics and not just necessarily looking for the imaginary man to solve all their problems. So, I guess it depends on where you're coming from, because I'm kind of looking at it as mental slavery to a degree. And once you get this off of your head, then you can find what's inside yourself. And so, we look at, if I don't know what things look like in Texas, but we can look at kind of how I have some guys and people walking around with the pants hanging off and things, because self-esteem within yourself, you have to find love within you. But when you're walking around with this thing in your head, and you've been told throughout your life that you're nothing, and then you're calling yourself servants, because the book has reinforced slavery, and now you still have the mind of a slave. It's kind of hard to find a God within you. And so you're thinking out of emotional energy of fear and guilt and shame, because they use this, that you don't go to church, you're going to hell, and things of this nature, that you never find reason and logic and peace within you. And so if someone can put a church that can find these, I would be glad to send people and say, look, we found something that'll actually resonate, and we can put them together, and you can still praise and feel like this without feeling like someone's pulling you away from your soul and telling you that it's going to burn in eternity if you don't do what I say.
Yeah, I don't have that experience coming from a completely different lineage, but as you were talking as an empath, like I could feel that, like I could feel the shackles and the slavery, and it just seems like so much pain and heartache and heartbreak. And if I could if I could share anything with anyone, I mean, this is still the biggest, I guess, differentiating factor between say even me and my mother, who is a very devout Christian. I believe that the power is within us.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Organized religion, church believes the power is outside of you.
There
So
it
I
is.
mean, we say this a lot. We're created in God's image, so
Yeah.
the image of the divine. That means there is no separation between us and the divine.
Exactly. Exactly. We are one with the divine.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to mix that, because if you're separating it, then you're taking away the power and you're looking for something else to do it for you. And that's where I stand. It's kind of hard to resonate with, it kind of working together, because like you said, it's taking it out of you. And then, like I said, people are begging and they're paying the tithes and they're doing everything they can do. And
I think my role here on this earth, having had the experience that I had growing up and coming into my gifts at such a young age and feeling like I had to hide them because of the religious conditioning, is to let more of those people know, more people who either have religious trauma like that or who are currently in the church hiding their gifts because they don't know what to do with them, is to speak out about that, to say, hey, it's actually safe for you to be your authentic self. It's safe for you to be your spiritual self. It's safe for you to be your psychic self. It's safe for you to be a healer and lay hands and speak in tongues. Like, I didn't know. I actually didn't know this until very recently when I had a heart-to-heart with my mom and like came out of the broom closet, like practicing magic and all this stuff. I said,
the broom closet.
I said, Mom, I can speak in tongues. She goes, I can speak in tongues. I said, I have known you my whole life. I'm 33 years old. I've known you 33 years old. Never knew this. I was like, why didn't you say anything? If I had known this, maybe I wouldn't have felt so weird doing that. And she goes, well, it's because people think it's weird, so I just don't do it. I'm like, more people need to be having these conversations.
Well, could you have got some of the things from her, and she'd been hiding these things and not comfortable enough. I mean, so that's what I think your school is so beautiful about. It gives people comfortability to be them.
Exactly. Yeah. So we get into all kinds of stuff in psychic school. We talk about your psychic blueprint. What are your primary clairs? How do you receive messages from source? How can you open up the channel? What are some different healing modalities? I actually teach on light language, as it's one of my favorite modalities. We've actually had the honor and privilege of bringing in guest speakers this round. So we had someone come in and speak on sound healing. We had a numerologist. We had someone come in and do cord cutting and clearings. It's been a really beautiful experience for helping people just break free from the matrix and embrace their gifts.
See, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm saying. Letting them break free. And you using my language, the matrix, because that's exactly what it is. Get the illusion out of your mind.
Yeah. For anyone that hasn't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's the movie version, right? Like, because the Matrix is the real thing we live in, but also just a movie. But I think it's a documentary. I think it's a perfect description of what's happening here, that we're allowing something outside of ourselves to dictate our reality.
That's right. Right down to the feelings that he had about the fear he thought about when he was about to make that jump. He thought about it instead of having faith in making that jump. Later, he came back in the movie and he had faith was in his mind and he made the jump. Keanu Reeves, I don't know if you remember that part, but when I was able to go back and look at it again, see, the first time I looked at it, I looked at it with blind eyes. When it first came out, I was part of the Matrix. When you go back and you unplug, you go back and look at it again, you look at a totally different movie.
Yeah, and this whole idea of taking the other pill and going back to sleep, it's a real thing, right? Exactly. And this is one of the things I share with my students is like, are you actually ready to go down the rabbit hole? Because there's no going back. Because once you open up the pineal gland, open up the third eye, you're going to start receiving messages from spirit all hours of the day. You're going to be healing the person next to you at the grocery store. You need to be ready for that. Not that you can't, filter and protect your energy, because you certainly can, but there's no going back. Once you wake up, there's no going back to sleep. And there's been many moments, because energies in the world get intense. As an empath, I feel everything. I feel all the people. We have my mom and my brother staying with us. I feel everything. And there's many moments where I'm like, I just want to get back to sleep. And spirit's like, no, dear, you still got work to do.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I've been got through my work a lot of times. Like, you have something to do, but it usually lets me know where I was going though. So yeah. But you get a lot more in tune with energies. But the thing is, people don't understand. They're kind of in tune with it anyway. They just don't realize it because they use energy language. Energy's off in the room, things of that nature, but they're not in tuning themselves to actually what's going on within themselves to actually recognize it. Because we all have this ability, and that's, again, we want to get, go back to the religious deal. But I always like to separate it because, Yeshua, Jesus, was telling these things. What I do, you can do too. With, which, as an energy healer, that's pretty much what he was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so the thing is that you're free when you understand actually what the message was. That's how I feel about it. Stop, messing the message up. The message was you have it, everything, all the answers are within yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got a new Bible that has margins in the end. I want to read through it cover to cover so that I can have the biblical contextual knowledge to affirm what we're talking about and be able to have these kinds of conversations in the church. Because I think there's more people like me and like you that are still enslaved to a system that really doesn't have their best interests at heart.
It doesn't. It doesn't. You said it earlier. It's meant for you to serve its purpose. Everything is meant for you to serve its purpose. That's it doesn't have your interest at heart. It's your job to find your soul's purpose here on this earth. But first you have to kind of unplug from the matrix, to understand that the system has you set up to be a spoken death wheel, and for you to ever see that your soul, it's okay for you to live in your soul purpose.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. Well, how do you actually put your programs together to help people on, do you do it online or do you kind of do more things on the side? I want to go outside, but
message from spirit.
Yeah, that time of the afternoon, I guess when people start, they want to convey their messages to me, but they should know I'm usually live at this time. But anyway, so how do you basically convey your stuff? You do online, or you do more, kind of in person. Both. I know I kind of with Ricky, I can reach anyone because we are all connected, so distance isn't actually not a problem. So how do you do things?
Yeah, I do both. I do in person and I do online. I've also done one-on-one and groups. So a lot of my business earlier on was based on one-on-one. But then this year, as I was tuning into spirit, I call it my board of directors, but I sat down with my spirit guides and I was like, how would you like for me to show up and serve this year? So this was the conversation I had on January 1st of this year. And they said, your words for this year are expansion, connection, and community. I said, great. What does that look like? And they shared with me, okay, now it's time for psychic school. You're going to have a monthly membership, and you're also going to have a mastermind to help people who are ready to take their spiritual business to the next level. And then later, about halfway through the year, they also gave me the vision for a free container. So I also have a Facebook group for people who are coming into their gifts and are curious of how to develop that as well. So I have resources for them. But also on my heart was bringing back in the retreats. So I had, way back in the day, I used to be a virtual assistant, online business manager, project manager. So I actually helped other entrepreneurs plan their retreats. I saw how it was done. Then when I started my own business, later I decided to do my own retreats. I did one in 2020 in the middle of COVID. So that was interesting. And then secretly on the DL, we didn't wear masks.
I bet. That on the real low.
Well, the real down low, because I was in the middle of quarantine and all that. Just don't tell anybody. Yeah. I was like, so we're not going to wear masks in this retreat. Is that cool? Everyone's like, that's cool. Let's not do that. So one of those things.
Your auras were fine.
We're good. We're good.
I bet nobody got sick.
Nobody was sick. We were all good. So I did one in 2020, and then there was a lot of shifts and transformations that happened. Of course, we had the pandemic. I was pregnant with my daughter at that time, had my daughter, and then we moved to Houston. We lived with my husband's father and then his mother, and then we bought our own house and remodeled, and I got pregnant again. So years went by. And then this year, Sarah's like, okay, it's time to bring retreats back too. So then I got to do in-person retreats. I just had 2 this year, one in June and then another one in September. So that was really fun.
Okay, that is great. You have been through a lot.
Yeah. a lot of shifts and transformations. So now I'm in the middle of another spiritual awakening. So it's kind of this feeling of, my mom and I were just talking about it actually, where you're sitting in the ocean or standing in the ocean and the waves keep coming at you. And you're thinking like, when is it going to end? When is it going to end? And actually it doesn't end. You just get stronger.
I look at like the law of rhythm. I keep going through rhythms and flows, like, you know, and I ride with it, you know, because it just kind of happens. And it's just kind of, it's kind of hard to describe with me, but you don't clearly you don't know it's happening when it's coming, but when it does, it's like, okay, I understand where I'm going now. But when it first happened, I didn't necessarily understand what's happening.
You just think you got blindsided and slapped up the side of the face. Yeah,
I really did. I just started doing things differently, you know, not wanting to go certain places. You got a little distant on some stuff, you know, and you kind of not necessarily knowing what's going on, kind of got more into self-reflection, more into self-knowledge, led more into some things. And it, you know, now I look back on it, I understand what it was about. But so now I understand when I'm going through it again. But the first, like, you know, I think probably this was maybe 10, 15 years ago, maybe. Yeah. So yeah, it's been beautiful. Speaking of spiritual, so how do you actually help people as far as spiritual mentorship?
Okay, so one of my passions is helping people discover their purpose, why it is that they're here. Most purposes can boil down to helping people, but we'll get more specific than that, which is, what is your mission? So how are you being called to help people, right? So my life purpose is to become the best version of myself, to empower others to do the same. My mission right now, it's changed over the years, but right now it's in empowering emerging empaths to ignite their intuition and supercharge their spiritual skills. So that's what Psychic School is doing. So as far as the mentorship piece of it, I really look at myself as a guide. So I call myself a psychic empath and quantum energy healer. It's not so much that I'm healing you and I'm doing the work on you. It's I see myself as a channel, as a vessel. I'm allowing that energy to flow through me to help facilitate your body's own natural healing processes. And all I do is hold space. I show up. I allow you to be fully seen and fully heard. I empower you to acknowledge your own innate guidance and wisdom. And I hold that container. I think of myself also, this kind of came through a couple of weeks ago, but a sort of sin eater in a way where like I can like hold all that energy of what you think you need to do, have to do, should do, and I'll like hear your deepest, darkest fears and all your resistance and slow moving energy and hesitations and blockages. And I can take that and I hold it so you can release it out of your system. And then we alchemize it, release it, and let it go. Exactly. Yeah. So a coaching mentorship journey could be anything from something specific like, hey, Nicole, let's open up my third eye. Great. We'll do one session. To, hey, I actually want to get to a place where I'm so confident in my psychic abilities that I can start offering professional psychic readings. Great. Let's do a 3-month container together. And then maybe someone's like, you know what? I just want access to all the things. I want Psychic School. I want the mastermind. I want all your courses and programs. I want to have one-on-one calls with you. And then we'll do something like 6 months or a year together where we journey. But I never see these containers as being long-term in the sense of they're forever. Most people that go like all in on something like a VIP where we are journeying 6 or 12 months, it's usually only 6 or 12 months or maybe a year or two. Because I'm not the guru, right? There's going to reach a point where your journey takes you somewhere else and you don't actually need me anymore. You may not need anyone anymore, right?
Right.
Maybe someone else. Yes, exactly. Maybe someone else resonates with you more. Maybe you want to go in a direction that I'm not an expert in. And then I have a huge network of people that I can refer people out to because I believe in collaboration and co-creation, not competition.
Well, exactly. We should not be competing anyway. We should be working together. That's the ego. Yeah. But we all kind of have our own intuitive abilities. So could anyone kind of use your services? Because we all have it within. Just some, I guess, some of you just we're more in tune with it than some of us. I mean, I know I've been able to kind of have some dreams here and there, and you kind of wonder, I've seen this before, things this nature. So I think we've all kind of had these deals because we just not in tune to it as much, but
Yeah.
we all could benefit, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And I actually think that every single person on this planet is psychic, because psychic is just an umbrella term for anyone that experiences energy. But like we said, energy is all around us. It's all around us. It's moving in us and through us. And so every single person is psychic. It's just that over time and through social conditioning, we've lost touch with this. Why? Because of the matrix. We're plugging into our parents and our past and our partner and the TV and the news and the media and the social media and religion and school system and politics and all these other energies and entities. And so absolutely, yes, anyone can go through any of my programs, products, or services. However, again, it goes back to that awareness and that agency is they have to want to move through that. They have to want to develop that ability within themselves for it to be worthwhile.
Well, that's the thing with anything. You got to want to take action.
Exactly. Yeah. Inspired, aligned action, not spinning around the hamster wheel just because that's what somebody told you to do.
That's exactly right. Spinning your wheels, inspired action. That is definitely the key word there. Yep. So you guys heard it. You all can use her services. Everyone. So generally, like how like you said, it's kind of differentiation as far as what different packages are. So like if a person they could take it all dishes or kind of just select what they want to do.
Yes, exactly. Depending on where you're at and how much time and energy you'd like to invest. Like I'll say something like, oh, single session's great if you just need a little tiny shift. If you want more of a community aspect, something like a group program like Psychic School's fantastic because you get to journey alongside your peers who are going through a similar journey. Now the VIP, which is all the things plus coaching one-on-one, it is more intense. I have clients that take breaks sometimes because going down that rabbit hole, waking up, you can't go back. So we allow lots of space and graciousness for that as well.
Yeah. But tell what differentiates you from? I know a lot of people, especially on Facebook, they have the psychic person that likes to jump into their post and say, "Hey, I want to give you the free reading. I felt your energy through the page. I want
never do that."
Let's talk.
Please don't fall for that. Like those people give psychics such a bad rap. Like that is not a legit way to connect.
That's why I want you to talk about it, because I need to be clear of your profession. You know what I'm saying? For people who are looking at this, because a lot of times this is if you know how it goes on Facebook. If you look at someone's post, someone's hopped in and they did this deal, and they and me knowing that we have these abilities, I'm like, they're making it look real bad.
Let me just say this, like total disclaimer. I'm sorry for anyone that has ever done that to you, for anyone that has fallen into that trap, because a legit psychic will never solicit you for their services. A legit psychic will let the energy speak for itself.
Bingo. See, that's why I need you to talk about this, because if they're not, they see the people chasing, they chasing, chasing posts and things of this nature, like, and anyone knows if you manifest, your energy brings it to you. And so I know that. But when I know that I can look through Facebook, a few groups, whatever, and you're gonna see it. And so now, you got everything from Miss Cleo back in the days. I don't know if you can remember her, to now you have these people that are jumping inside of your inbox that are doing this thing, and they're making it look bad for people who really, like yourself, who really, are legit people who are actually out here trying to help people. So I just kind of want to let you speak up for yourself. A little bit here.
And here's the thing too, is that free reading is a sort of bait and switch, because then they're going to tell you that, oh, you need this hex removal, or you need this curse removal, or you need this other thing. Right. And I always say, like, look, if someone reaches out to me and they're asking me for my opinion, this is what I came up with, this is what channeled from spirit. And if you'd like any help outside of that, I do also offer this, but you don't have to do this, and you also don't have to do it with me. Totally up to you. I leave it completely open-ended. And a lot of times they're like, actually, I want that and I want it from you. Great. Here we go. Here's the next step. But I never make it like, oh, if you don't do this, something bad's going to happen to you.
Well, see, that would sound like religion. We don't want to do that.
But here's the thing. This is like one of the things that really lit me on fire in my professional reading is people look to me like I have all the answers. No, I have answers that I'm channeling, but you already have the answers because the answers are inside of you. And I've had people that get addicted to the readings, and I have to cut them off and say, look, you're looking for something outside of yourself to affirm what you already know to be true.
Right.
I've had students that get addicted to pendulums, which is actually why I don't teach divination until the end of psychic school, because you need to learn how to use your body as a divination tool to be able to discern for yourself what is true and what is not. Because if you're constantly looking for something outside of yourself for the answer, you're going to always be turning to that.
But they're doing what we just talked about earlier. It's still, you're still looking for things outside of yourself, and the answers within you. And that's always going to be the wrong answer looking outside of you. So
yeah. And you know what? These tools are actually pretty funny. So when I see, first of all, I don't need to use tools anymore to do readings. I very rarely use third-party tools, actually. But there was a point where certain people that were coming to me repeatedly, I could sense the pattern. They were getting addicted to the readings. My pendulum would actually give me intentionally wrong answers so that they could figure the answers out for themselves. And I knew it and I felt it. And I said, look, these readings aren't working for you anymore because Spirit is saying that you need to figure this out on your own. Yeah. But you would only know that if you have, pure intentions and are genuinely looking out for the person.
Right.
Let me tell you what you want to hear and sugarcoat it so you come back for more, right?
Right. It's not just working your best intention. That's what universe is here to do. But they find out. But it's easy for people to get that because that's what they're mentally conditioned to do. And so it's kind of like, I guess you kind of like a baby. You have to let them start walking on their own at a certain point in time. And like anything, that fear of knowing what's within and taking those steps alone by themselves, I can see where that's kind of a problem, because just kind of like with healing, a lot of times I'm trying to teach people that, just teaching you tools that you can use for yourself. We just teaching you the tools and things that resonate with you and introducing you to things that resonate with you so you can, basically find your own path to healing. I'm not healing you. It's universal life force that's channeling through me to you, that's already utilizing what's within you. And so, and always let them know we're not doing it. You're doing it. And that's what I like to keep affirming to them, that you're doing it. You made the first step when you came and saw me. All that energy when you made that effort, all that is you doing what you did. And I like to keep letting people know that they're doing this stuff, especially where I come from, where the unconscious thing is playing in their unconscious mind that he's doing something. That it's just there. It's like I couldn't do anything unless he did it. It's like, well, let's move that and put it in here and believe in what's there. And that's why I think that's such a powerful message. Well, our time is definitely running pretty fast. I've already running up on an hour already. Let us know how you can be, reached. I definitely put your contact information in the chats below. But for those that are looking at it, they kind of let everyone know how you can be reached and how you can help.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So you can find me online. My website is oracleacademy.com. It's a little play on words between aura and oracle. So that's AURACLE academy.com. There you'll find my free quiz for discovering your spiritual superpower. You'll answer a few questions and discover your primary intuitive type, how you best connect in with source. And I'll also share some practical ways you can deepen that connection. And then we also have all the information for psychic school and our other programs on the website as well. And then if you'd like to connect on social media, I'm on Instagram as Nicole.Starbuck. That's my first name, NICOLE, little dot in the middle, followed by my last name, which is like the coffee, but without the S at the end. And then we also have our complimentary container on Facebook, which is called The Conscious Collective.
Beautiful. So you guys got it right there. And I will definitely be putting all that information in the comments below on the YouTube page. So definitely reach out to her. You see, she's bringing a lot of things that can help you. And so, definitely reach out and, be educated on what she has going on. And is there anything you'd like to leave us with before we go?
Nothing we haven't already said, but just to reiterate, you already have the answers. The answers are inside of you. It's just a matter of whether or not you're listening and taking that a step further, taking that inspired idea and aligned action.
Exactly the message. I hope y'all took that all that in, because you know it's a heavy message, and you will definitely see light if you actually take heed to these words. So it's definitely been a pleasure having you here today, Nicole.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we thank you too, audience, for once again joining us for another episode. Um, we hope you've been educated, and you've been able to take this in, and kind of marinate on it, and really take it to heart, because as she just said, you have the answers within yourself. And people like her and myself, and all of us healers are here to try to help you, guide you to the light. So we're here for you. So until next week, continue to be blessed, shine your light into the world, and continue to love yourself.